Have you ever heard of the series Urusei Yatsura? No? Then please watch my video and let me introduce you to this masterpiece made by Takahashi Rumiko sensei. Ikucha! Okay, so in my introduction series videos, I introduce a certain anime or manga series without going too deep into the specifics of the story. So it's not going to be a review, it's more like an introduction to let you know what the story is about in general terms, what kind of story it is. So you can decide for yourself whether you would like it or not. So this is mostly aimed at people who have only briefly heard of this series, who haven't really dived into it. And since I'm not going to go too much into spoiler detail, you can still enjoy the series after watching my video and making up your mind if it's something that you would like. So without further ado, let's get started and let me introduce you to Urusei Yatsura. So here you see the logo, which is the Japanese logo, and the title of the series actually is a wordplay. And in this series you also have a lot of wordplays on the Japanese language, which might be a little bit hard to catch for people who aren't well versed in Japanese, but let me at least explain to you the title itself. So it's written Urusei Yatsura, and the sei character is written with a kanji. Now if you want to know what a kanji is, check my video about the Japanese writing system in manga. There I explain kanji, kana, and so on. So it's a character that has a certain meaning, and the meaning of this character, sei, or also pronounced hoshi, is actually star, right? So this is actually a wordplay on the sentence Urusei Yatsura. So Urusei is a colloquial version of Urusei. Urusei means somebody who's noisy or obnoxious or bothersome. Urusei. A more colloquial version of that is Urusei. Yatsura then means them, those guys over there, in a somewhat disparative way of talking. So Urusei Yatsura would be spoken Japanese for those obnoxious guys over there, those bothersome people over there. And what did the author do of this series? She changed the sei into the kanji sei, which you can see at the top there. And that means star. So since it's a story about invaders from space invading Earth, she makes a wordplay on those obnoxious people over there, but the word obnoxious has the character for star in it. And that's actually one wordplay in the title, but there are many wordplays in the series as well. If you would be interested in me doing a deeper dive into the series, where, for example, I go into the various wordplays, the Japanese folklore that is used in the series, or a review, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to do it. If there's enough interest, why not? A little bit about the author maybe first. So it's a female author, a female mangaka, Takahashi Rumiko sensei. Now she's a very proficient mangaka. She's done various series. Urusei Yatsura, I believe, was her first real big hit. But she is also the author of, for example, Maison Ikoku, Lama Nibunomichi, Inuyasha, and so on. So she's been very active since, let's say, the late 70s up to and including the years 2000. A very beloved mangaka in Japan and abroad as well. She has won many awards in Japan, but also abroad. I believe the peak of her work was Ranma Nibunomichi. I think that's the manga that's also sold the most for her. But her first big hit, in my opinion, was still Urusei Yatsura, which also makes it a bit special also, I think, when we talk about this mangaka. Now, the original publication of the manga, now I'm talking about the manga which was published in Japan, was in Shukan Shonen Sunday. Thus, it's not a Jump publication, it's a Sunday publication. The original publication in that weekly magazine was from 87, volume number 39, up to the year 78 with volume 39, up to and including the year 87 with volume 8. So the series ran for, let's say, about 9 years in this weekly publication, where they published a couple of pages each time. So it ran for a pretty long time. And it stayed pretty popular throughout the whole run, actually. So, of course, since it was a popular manga, it was later released as a tankobon volume, so those bound volumes, where you have more stories in condensed in one volume. So there were 3 iterations, actually. So the original ones, which were published by Shonen Sunday Comics, the ones you see on the screen here, on the illustration here. 34 volumes in total. These are the ones I have in my collection as well. It was later re-released as a Shonen Sunday Comics Waidoban. 15 volumes then. Why? Because those Waidoban, those are wider books actually, and they can get more panels on one page. So there were only 50 volumes of those. And then later it was published again as Shogaku Kan Bunko. So 3 times republished, clearly indicating there was definitely it has long-standing fan base. Even now the comics are still being sold, and I wouldn't be surprised with the new anime coming out that the manga is gonna get sold in bookstores again, or maybe republished, who knows. I personally have the Shonen Sunday comics, as I said, the original ones, and I'm on the lookout now if I can get a digitized version, because those pages don't get yellow. You keep it in a pristine state then. So I'm looking for that. Perhaps I'm going to be able to find it now with the relaunch of the anime. So speaking of the anime, the series was first aired on Fuji Terebi in the year 81, the 14th of October to be more specific, up to and including the year 86, the 19th of March. 195 episodes in total, which is quite a long-running series. 5 movies and 12 OVAs, original video animations. Those are the ones that are direct to video, that don't get a theatrical release, or that get aired on TV and later sold. Some of those OVAs and movies even came out after the anime series stopped airing. So that shows that there was a definite hardcore fan base that kept being a fan of the series. What's interesting to note, as you can see, because at the time of making this video, we're October of the year 22, sorry. And what do we see? The 14th of October in the year 81 was when the very first episode aired, and we're getting a remake of the anime, which will air this year in 22 on exactly the 14th October of this year. So they're really gonna stick with the same date exactly, which I think is really cool. You had the old anime, which I watched when I was a child. Very first episode on the 14th of October, and all those years later now, we get exactly on the same date the first episode again, but the remake. And you can see the 2 lumps here next to each other. As you can see, the old one was of course in a 4:3 aspect ratio, because that's how TVs were back in the day. The new series is going to be widescreen, is going to be 16:9 aspect ratio, matching, of course, current day television broadcasts. It's going to be broadcast, at least the new anime is going to be broadcast on the same TV channel, namely Fuji Terebi. We're going to get, for this season, we're going to get 2 cours, which will air consecutively. So we got cour 1, cour 2 in one row. And 4 cours in total have been commissioned. So that means we're going to get half of what has been commissioned this season. And then we're going to get the remaining 2 cours in the next season. With that, we're probably not going to be able to cover all the episodes that were made in the original anime. So I hope it's successful. I hope a lot of people watch it or subscribe to online services to watch it. so they can see it's popular, so they can see there's demand, and so they can continue making more cours so that we can get the entirety of Urusei Yatsura in a remake. That would be glorious. I would really love that. So that's a bit for the publication itself. And now let's get into the story. So the story is about actually Ataru, which you can see here illustrated, who's a high school student in Japan, and there's actually nothing special about him. He doesn't have any special abilities, or he's not exceptionally smart or whatever. He's just a plain old high school student. Now, he's dating a girl from his class named Shinobu. They've been dating for some time. Shinobu tends to get mad at Ataru a lot because he sometimes tends to be a bit of a womanizer, looking at other women. Sometimes I feel like it's true that he's a little bit too interested in other women. On the other hand, she also gets jealous and mad easily at him, even when he just looks at another woman. So there's that dynamic going on. So they've been dating, and one day on his way back from school, he runs into a Buddhist priest, which you can see here, which is a little bald guy called Sakurambo, which is again a word play on a roaming monk, but it can also mean, Sakurambo can mean cherry, so the fruit cherry. And he actually says to Ataru that he prefers to be called Cherry, hence also the little cherries on his fans. And he accosts Ataru and tells him that he's a bearer of bad luck. So Ataru has a lot of bad luck connected to his karma, so to speak, due to his birth date and so on, certain superstitions in Japan. And he says that a great unlucky event will befall him. Turns out when Ataru goes home, there's a lot of press gathered at his house. He doesn't understand what's going on. He thinks something happened to his parents. But what it turns out that space invaders, but not the kind that you see in a video game, but invaders from space, alien invaders, have landed in his house, exactly where he lives. And they're going to take over the world unless a certain champion from humanity can win against their champion. Now, who's going to be Earth's champion? Ataru, of course. And who's going to be his opponent? The daughter of the leader of the invaders called Oni, which is Japanese for, well, I would say something like demon or devil. And her name is Lam. So she's the second main character in the series, together with Ataru, I would say. So she's his opponent, and they're not going to fight or anything. He has a certain number of days in which he has to grab her horns. So as you can see, she has horns on her head, which is typical for those invaders, and he has to catch them. Now, at first he thinks, well, that's going to be easy peasy. I just run after her, like it's like a marathon setting. Or a race setting in the streets that they organize. He thinks, I'm just going to run and grab them, but turns out, bad luck for him again, she can fly. So she can just fly away. Not only that, she can use electric shocks from her body. She can generate electric shocks, making it even harder for Ataru to win. So he participates in the competition because he's forced to, right? All eyes of the world are fixed on him, and day after day, he fails to succeed. Now, I'm going to go a tiny bit into spoiler territory here. Eventually, we're getting towards the last day, and his girlfriend Shinobu, she really wants to support Ataru. She wants him to win because, they of course don't want to be conquered by those aliens. And she promises Ataru that she will marry him, or will agree to marry him, if he can win, if he can grab Lum's horns. Now, a little side note here, in Japanese folklore, it is said that if you can grab the horns of a demon, of an Oni, you will be lucky, and your dearest wish will be granted. A little side note then. So Ataru revived and revitalized, full of energy again, because he was kind of down because he couldn't succeed day after day. And on the last day of the competition, he says, I want to get married to Shinobu. And in Japanese, he says, kekkon shitai, kekkon shitai, kekkon shitai. I want to marry, I want to marry, I want to marry, while chasing Lum. Just constantly repeating that to himself, because that's where he gets his energy from. And lo and behold, the very last day of the competition, he manages to grab her horns. But just as he looks at her, he continues saying, kekkon shitai, I want to marry, I want to marry. And Lum takes that as he proposes to her. So he was, in his mind, talking about his girlfriend, Shinobu, but there's a big misunderstanding, and that's also something you will see in the series often. Many misunderstandings leading to crazy situations. And she misunderstands, and she says, okay, I'll marry you. And that's the main setting of the story. So she decides to settle in with him, calling him darling, which is also part of the charm of the series. She constantly calls him darling, with darling in Japanese. And at first, Ataru, of course, has a big issue here, because those invaders are very powerful. He can't just kick her out, but at the same time, he still wants to keep dating Shinobu. And then there's a lot of jealousy from Lum towards Shinobu at the beginning, and you get that love triangle that creates all kinds of crazy situations. There's a lot of romance, but most of all, a lot of comedy elements in there. Situations that just go from bad to worse. Then you have constantly Cherry interjecting himself there, constantly reminding Ataru that something bad is going to happen. Usually when Cherry shows up, he makes a bad situation even worse for Ataru. And it's often based on misunderstandings or situations that Ataru is just out of his control. And he just tries to manage as well as he can. And gradually throughout the series, we get introduced to a lot more characters. This love triangle gets even more complicated, even more complex, with more characters being added on. And it's just one comedy fest from beginning till end, with misunderstandings, crazy situations happening. A lot of fun, a lot of quirkiness, but eventually also a nice love story in it. So if you like love comedy with a heavy emphasis on the comedy part, with misunderstandings, a lot of influences from Japanese culture, Japanese folklore as well, you're definitely gonna love this series. It's a lot of fun. Lum is an incredibly cute, endearing character, in my opinion. I don't know why, and I'm not just saying this because of the fact that she has a sexy appearance, but there's just something about her that makes her so endearing, I feel. The way she talks, she always adds cha at the end of her expressions. Ishoniku cha, she says. So cha doesn't have any meaning, it's just a suffix she adds to her sentences, but it sounds cute. It's like a way of showing, I think, by the author, that she's an alien and talks a little bit differently, but it sounds so cute, and that's great about that character, that she's so cute. She is so endearing. The way she also latches on to Ataru and gets jealous, gets mad when he wants to keep dating Shinobu. It's actually quite endearing. And I couldn't help myself, but which is actually not so nice maybe, but to cheer for Lum more than Shinobu, even though Shinobu is his original girlfriend. Lum is just such a great character that you can't help but like her and cheer for her. So this is, in short, an introduction to the series, a really fun comedy. With lots of zany things going on, lots of quirky stuff, going from one misunderstanding to the next, and you see how each episode or each chapter things degenerate even further for Ataru, and the craziest of stuff is happening around him in his personal life, in his school life, and so on. Great fun, I must say. So if that's your cup of tea, if you like comedy, romance, heavy emphasis on comedy, crazy stuff going on, lots of Japanese influences, then this is definitely a series you're going to enjoy. You can read the manga. I have affiliate links below, so if you want to try one volume, you can go ahead. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps the channel a lot. And if you want to watch the anime, well, the remake is coming out this year in October, so that's going to be really fun to watch. So hope this short introduction gave you an idea of what the series is about, if it's going to be something you can enjoy or not. If you don't know the series, if you're interested in it, please let me know in the comments below. I like hearing from you guys, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Take care. Bye. Jane. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell, and sound off in the comments. And hey, while you're here, why not check out another video?